Well, it's great to be here today and to talk about social impact. I think since we've been building Adyen, we have always focused on building it for the long run. It's crucial in all the decisions that we make. And what we want to do today is also talk about how we take our broader responsibility to society. Because over the recent years, we've been focusing on what can we do as a business to create a bigger impact. And today, Elevate is, I think, a great podium to demonstrate what we have learned so far, but also to talk about how we can help merchants to grow their business and to interact with their consumers. So great to do that today, Dominique.
Wonderful. Thanks, Ingo. I hear you say impact. What does impact mean to you, and how do you think it's important for Adyen?
Yeah, I think impact starts always very small. I think that's how you should look at it. I think that's also how we tried to build our impact strategy at Adyen. And small means, or local means, that you want to do good for the things that happen around you. So we have 20 offices around the world, and those local teams, they are often connected to local activities. And that's how they create impact on a local scale. At the same time, you can think about what kind of impact do we have on the global scale. We have, of course, our own carbon footprint. And in the recent years, we've been focusing on what can we do to offset that carbon footprint. And we have invested heavily in projects to compensate for our footprint and basically compensated everything since the start of our company.
Yeah.
But that's part of, I think what you should do. It's like the fundamentals of building a business. The real question is like, how can you make even more impact? How can you make impact with the technology that we've built? And I think that's where we want to talk about today, because technology is at the heart of our company. And if you think about, for instance, what we have done over the recent years, taking friction out of the payments flow, we want to do basically the same with, for instance, donations. So we've built technology to help our merchants to make donations easier. And I think that's a product that is super cool. And you can think also of broader initiatives, what we're going to discuss later today, how we can use our technology and do good.
Yeah, great.
So that's it. And if you then think about what we do, you're working quite a bit with merchants in the impact space. How do they look at this? And how do they deal with all the stakeholders that are involved if you talk about impact?
Great question. So looking at the stakeholders, let me just start by the shoppers, the customers of our customers. And I think most of us know or assume, and by now, that shoppers rather buy from brands that they associate with doing good. I think that's not really new. But what we see more and more is that as a brand or as a business, talking about what your CSR strategy is, what your activities are, or what your values are, isn't really enough. It's about them, but it's not about you as a shopper. So what they expect more and more, actually, is how the brands can help them to do good. So how can you be facilitated as a shopper to do good and to make the right choices when you buy online or in store? At the same time, we see that the merchants that we talk to like this a lot. So they've done a lot when it comes to fundraising or volunteering. And usually they have like their an impact strategy already, but they've never really had the opportunity yet to include their shoppers also in this strategy. And you see that they want that more and more. And it's great, it really excites me to have conversations with them and how we can help them with our technology to do so. And then when you look at who is then benefiting, obviously the shoppers and the merchants, but who is eventually benefiting as well from these trends, I think that are the good causes that are supported. And you see that they need the help more than ever before. In these times where government help is declining, but also shopper behavior, giving behavior actually is changing more and more. People don't want to have lifelong subscriptions to just one specific charity. So they need to find new ways in which they can fundraise. And through the products that we are making, we're helping them.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So you actually would say, well, it's a no-brainer. Something like donation in checkout, or at least functionality in checkout to help them for these good causes. Why isn't not everyone doing this?
Yeah, I think that's the key question.
Yeah.
That's also what we asked ourselves. And this has to do with all the legacy systems that are around us. I think the fact that we have built a new payment stack where everything is integrated really helps us, because typically if you want to do a donation, there's a lot of friction. If you just think about the merchant that wants to reconcile the funds flows that they get, they need to make a distinction between what their funds are and what the funds are for the charity.
Yeah.
Well, this is something that we simplify. So we make sure that this is basically being administered by us. And the typical legacy players can't do this easily. Often if you talk about good causes and you want to support this in your checkout flow, you need to work with third parties. Third parties that you need to integrate to separately, also that come with a certain cost. So the effectiveness of giving is relatively low. You have the ratio from cost to revenues, or the donation that you make is relatively high.
Yeah.
And of course you want to do it good. You want basically a 100% conversion, of course.
Yeah.
So that's a very important thing.
Yeah.
We want to lower the barriers basically for our merchants and make sure that we help them in that way. If we talk about this, what kind of examples do you have? What kind of merchants have been working with this already?
Yeah, well actually what you're saying just now is something that we're hearing from so many merchants that want to implement solutions like this. Yeah. So a good example is of a UK domestic retailer. They sell beautiful British country homeware, and they've been always giving back a lot. They have like a set of charities that they care for, but usually just in fundraising themselves or with their staff being volunteering. And they wanted for so long already to help their charities with a more structural way of income. That was donations and checkout. However, they couldn't do it. Their finance teams, their IT teams, they were just blocking it. And not because they didn't believe in it or they didn't want it, but the operational hassle on their end was just so big. I mean, like you said, they had to reconcile the donation transaction from the commercial one. Their reporting became a mess. They had all these third-party integrations that they had to manage, and there are costs incurred. So it never really made sense for them to actually do it, until they found out about our product, Adyen Giving, and they were really just set up. The integration effort is so light. Especially in point of sale, it's just a configuration. So they were up and running in a few days. Cool. And what we can do for them is we settle the donation transaction in the back end. We do it as 2 transactions, although it feels like 1 for you. We settle that directly to the charity. And because we eat the interchange and scheme fees, actually 100% goes to charity. So they were super happy with that. And what you're seeing is that also because it is so flexible in the sense that they can choose with what kind of charity they want to work and where, is that they are able to give back to super local small charities, and that for them the impact is so huge that we're even seeing with some of these local charities that they're just doubling in their income. Wow. Yeah, it's really amazing.
Impressive,
yeah. Really cool, you would say. Yeah? So what do you think? If you hear all these great stories, what do you think the future would bring us?
Yeah, so I think it's very important to continue to build on this. And we, of course, have a dream to get to a certain milestone. And that milestone is to get to at least 1 billion of donations that would go to good causes, or causes that support the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. Yeah. So we're basically asking a lot of our customers to start using this product as well, because we think that's a great way to get there. And of course, we want to further expand on this technology. So we're also going to use it in a similar way for offsetting. So we're going to talk this afternoon about offsetting in the checkout. And this is a great way also for consumers again, if they check out with a merchant, that they can offset their carbon footprint of this product or service that they actually buy.
And really in line with that trend, that you see that they expect their brands to facilitate them making good choices.
That's exactly what it is. So shall we see if there are any questions from the audience?
Yes.
Let's invite Lauren to our conversation.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for the interesting talk. I've got 2 questions from the audience. The first one is, hello, how are changing customer demands influencing the corporate responsibility landscape?
You want to say a few words?
From merchants, I think shoppers, especially for our merchants, are so important, and you see that they often just drive what they need to, I mean, it used to be another way around, but they are deciding how customers should help them, right? I want to pay now, I want to be able to do it everywhere, I want to be facilitated. So I think that we should listen to them.
But I think it's very much also the trend that you were just describing. Like traditionally, my parents would give on a monthly basis to a certain charity for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
And I think young people, they want to decide basically on a single transaction like, hey, this is a good cause, I want to donate a few euros, and then move on to the next thing. And making that also part of their brand experience. I think that's the fundamental change that we see.
You have to be much more flexible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, and then the second question. Yeah, are you ready?
Yeah.
How can companies continue to make the world a better place for the future? And what are the main challenges they will face in doing so? Sorry.
I think, at least what I'm seeing, what's been working quite successful for us, is if you actually look at what as a business you are really good at and what you've built in our case, of course, that's technology and an infrastructure and a lot of knowledge around that. But if you really look at what we've built now for business with a business purpose, is there a way, because that's what we're really good at, is there a way that you can use that same infrastructure, technology or service to also for a social or environmental purpose? And I think in a lot of times that's possible, and that's so strong because you're really good at it.
Yeah. And what do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is really about integrating into your business, not like a form of greenwashing where you talk about it and do something separate next to your normal business. No, you really need to incorporate into your main business activities. Yeah. If you don't, it becomes just very difficult. I think the way that we've tried to integrate it into our technology makes it relatively easy to have a real impact.
Yeah, so it has to become a habit as well. Like it has to be really in all your everything. Yeah.
I think so.
Okay. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time and your talk. Thanks.